All right, without further ado, drum roll, please. We are going to your phone calls. John from Texas disagrees on Jade Helm. Josh in Dakota disagrees with Alex on sensationalism. Well, I mean, reality is sensational. Obama opening the borders without law is sensational. Mike in Canada says, I'm losing my edge. Frank in North Carolina, I have double standards. Chris disagrees on taxes. You don't have to preface it that you like me or this or that. Just tell me where you disagree, and I'll give each one of you about a minute and a half, and then I will rebut and go to the next person. So, John in Texas, the former state of Texas, now FEMA Region 6, occupied, as Jon Stewart said, by the globalist. He celebrated it. Welcome, John. You're on the air.
Hi, Alex.
Go ahead.
You know, this Jade Helm, I think more has to do with attacking another country than what it does with us. If there's a heavy Caucasian element to this training exercise, they may be wanting to do something in Eastern Europe, maybe even attack Russia, because Russia stands in the way in the Middle East. They can't finish Assad off. They can't attack Iran. They got to deal with Russia first.
I actually totally agree with you. This is having joint applications for Eastern European deployments. NATO admits they're preparing for that and wargaming. They're wargaming off Alaska. They're wargaming off Nova Scotia. I've said from the start that I'm not mad at you, John, but that's a straw man because it has dual training. But they are also doing infiltration of local government training. You notice they said working with people on their farms. That'll be operatives they've got on the border with Russia. So I totally agree with you that it has dual purposes. But the overall reason is to condition the public by doing these drills out in the open.
No matter how you look at this exercise, Alex, whether it's to do with us or a foreign invasion or an attack, it's evil. Evil either way you look at it, it's evil.
Well, sure, but they're having riot control drills from Tennessee to California that they won't let us into, but we shoot through the fence. And then it's, I'm with the Tea Party. I'm a sovereign. You can't have my guns. I mean, I went to a Marine Corps drill with 3,000 Marines and over 2,000 foreign troops, and they kept saying, it's for Macedonia. It's for Macedonia. Well, yeah, they had a joint mission, but they had role players screaming, I'm an American. Don't take my guns. No, not the camp. And they had overhead satellite tracking, and they were training to fight militias, and they would catch, they let me in, but then their PR guy kept throwing me out. But we sent in people posing as citizens for a tour. You know, they were cordoned off streets. It was in the city of San Francisco and what's the town there? Oakland. I mean, it's a 2-hour film. People can watch it. So it was dual use. But then I had Marines, two non-commissioned officers, who were friends with some folks that I knew, show up a year later at Access Television in 1999. This was 2000 then. They're like, Alex, we like your show. You have no idea what was really going on. And they were simulating terrorists attacking by water, and the terrorists were patriots. And they were simulating, and then they had drones up, and it's video. They're going, Death Star, we're in control. We've got them moving. And they go, we're just going to show you a minute of this. And then they showed us coming out of the hotel, the Marriott, and me throwing coffee on the ground that had been left in the car and peeing up against a tree and stuff like that. Because I don't want to go back in. You know, forget you got to pee and you're going to get in the car. And I mean, it was ridiculous. And I said, please let me show the public. They go, oh, no, we'd be arrested. In fact, don't talk about this for years. And then they left. And then my friends wouldn't even tell me who they were. They just go, oh, they're family. But, I mean, they used us in the simulation like we were added role players and we didn't even know it. So, believe me, I know all about these exercises. I've covered personally more than 30 of them. Go ahead. Anything else, John?
Well, I think maybe you can just Jade Helm exercise, Alex. Maybe everybody in Texas ought to open carry. Everybody just don't get threatening. Everybody carry their stuff with you, you know. That sort of send them a message right there.
It's going to be like the SAGE event they've been doing for 50 years, which is legitimate, except that it gets violent. People don't know what's going on. They've had people killed, I think, 3 times, twice by citizens, once by cops. Because you see people breaking into a warehouse and they've got guns. I mean, you know, the average person pulls a gun out and says, hit the ground. The Jade Helm guys think you're part of a drill, and then they point the gun at you, and you shoot them. I mean, this has happened 3 times outside Fort Bragg because they operate 30, 40 miles out. I mean, what are the cops supposed to do when they see somebody aim, you know, with somebody else at gunpoint? They just shoot you. It's what you're supposed to do. And that's why people are really concerned. In fact, since you said this, and I'm going to Mike, Josh, Chris, Frank, don't hang up. These clips are short. Here is Thomas Meade, who actually runs with a private contractor, this giant multi-thousand special forces. You got 10-to-1 support, tens of thousands of troops, private contractors. Here he is in another Texas town admitting that they're going to be getting in people's cars, doing simulated illegal stuff. And then we have the colonel, I want to put this in a report, by the way, saying none of that's true and that we're liars 2 weeks later. So, see, they're lying to us. Their own Jade Helm handout says the things we've said, and then they tell the media it doesn't exist. Thank you, caller, John. Let's go to that short clip. Here it is.
Within the cities, you won't see most of this, I would tell you. For example, increased aircraft in the area at night. You'll see that out in the rural area. We have a resupply, an aerial drop that will occur, and then some paratroopers as well will jump into Martin County in early August. It won't happen within the city limits.
And there's another clip we should play. Let's go ahead and roll that one.
One of the things that we do as well, they will be carrying weapons, but it won't be live ammunition. It'll all be blank ammunition. Just to correct one thing that was in the newspaper on Sunday that I read was they'll have blank ammunition, but there will not be any explosions. We won't be setting off live demolition out here. The guys will be wearing civilian attire or a mixed uniform. They may be wearing fatigue bottoms and a T-shirt, but that's
they're training to fight the Russians.
Ordinary
with
in
merch.
West Texas, from what I've seen, especially during hunting season. And they may be driving civilian vehicles throughout the area. So really, within the city limits, if you notice my guys, they're probably really doing something wrong.
Then they came to Austin and Bastrop and said none of this was true, and they never said it, and laughed at us. Should we play the clip? We've got that cut out, right, where he says, the colonel, with this guy behind him, puppeting him, says, no, we're not going to be in the towns. We're not going to be in plain clothes. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's just crazy. We should call it the lies of Jade Helm. Mike in Canada says, I'm losing my edge. Go ahead, Mike, and then we'll go to Chris and others. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. So what I wanted to hit on was you could break the news tomorrow that America is being invaded, and America would just continue on like normally. But when you have debates and you come out on top of those debates, you'll notice with Piers Morgan, look what happened. I miss those. You had a little bit with Cenk Uygur. Also, you had some good debates with Max Kaiser.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal. My show's big, but it's my audience. They won't let me on TV because I take over, I dominate, I break the news, and then the people's ratings go down. I destroy people. And because I break the matrix. I go, look, it's all a trance. It's fake. You're a foreigner here wanting our guns. This is crazy. Get out, red coat. And because I don't have it within their false paradigm. I circumvent Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, they've tried to set me up on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. Let me not exaggerate. Since it started back in 2000 or whatever it was, or 99, I don't know how long it's been around, I have been called by them, let me not exaggerate, 20 times. They've even bought the tickets before. And then it always gets canceled. So I don't even respond when they call now. They've attacked me on there probably 20 times. That and also on the Colbert cat litter report. Okay, so that's what these people do. They won't get in a ring with me. They'd rather buy the radio stations I'm on to kick me off the air or put out ratings that I have no listeners and play games, okay? This is what these scallywags do. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you know, I was been watching quite a bit of videos of you back in the day being on RT, being on Fox, And I mean, some of them, there was one where there was a woman who was asking you about your big claims and for proof. And you went off on the Vietnam, that
Gulf of Tonkin. They asked
Vietnam.
when. Yeah, it was Fox News. They said, when is there? It was Geraldo Rivera, who he told me I'm banned from there, not by him, by the executives. He said, oh, they love you when you come on. The people do, but not others. And other people told me I'm banned. That's all fine. Fox asked me to come do a trailer up there years ago and basically meet with their executives. And I just said, you know what? Okay. And I told the other person that wanted me to come, I said, now watch. They're going to cancel it. And sure enough, they did. The next time they invited me, I didn't go do it. I mean, I've flown to New York to be on Fox News like 10 years ago, and they didn't put me on. And they go, oh, go enjoy the day. Here's a gift certificate to a steakhouse, okay? I've been through it. They won't get in the ring with me. They won't get on the racetrack with me. I will smoke them. And it's not that I'm anything special. I mean, I was debating these ladies on there. They're like, oh, come on. Our government's never staged something. And I went, the Maine, Operation Ajax in 53, Gulf of Tonkin, 1964, declassified, staged events, Operation Northwoods. And Geraldo Rivera looks at him and goes, well, that is true. So, yes, they won't let me on because I have facts. God bless you, Mike. I appreciate your call. But you say you disagree. I'm losing my edge. They won't put me in the arena. They're coming at, look, I don't want to whine because I'm not. I expect flack, but I expect to be backed. They're coming out of the woodwork against us, folks. I'm attacked by hundreds of newspapers a day. CBS News, NBC, ABC, all of them attacked me on the nightly news last night and last week. Okay, I mean, do you understand, folks? They didn't all attack me last night. It was last week they all attacked me. This is going on. Why do you think? Because I've got them. I've studied them. I'm willing to be put in prison or killed. I don't look forward to it, but I mean, I'm not worried about it because I'm not backing down. I'm never going to sell out to these people, and I'm in a fight. And that's why I'm so aggressive, is because this is life or death. I'm in a death battle, people. I am in a death battle. I am in a death battle. A death battle. We have been usurped by criminals that put poison in vaccines and kill babies on purpose. They're killing babies all over the country, euthanizing them with vaccines. Newborn, premature babies. That's coming up in the next hour. Eyewitnesses, the convulsions, the deaths. It's a death battle. The only reason I'm still alive is the grace of God and the fact that they don't want to make me a martyr, but they're killing my name first so they can then physically set me up. Do you understand that? I don't care, because the transmission's being sent, and they can kill me, an individual, but they'll never shut down that message that'll only gain credibility as it all unfolds. And that's another reason they haven't killed me, because they know I will rise again like the phoenix long after I'm dead. And that's what I'm all about. That's what I want. In fact, they know secretly that I dare them to come after me. I'm not worried about it. And I hate to use a cheesy Obi-Wan Kenobi thing, but I'm telling you, they were coming at me. I might just stand there and take it. In fact, I've already thought about it. The only thing that keeps me from doing it is my children. Only thing that keeps me from not putting myself in positions where I know the enemy will take me out is my children. I want to stay here for them. I need to take care of my children. That's the only fear I've got. I am committed, and that's a strength they don't have. They don't have any will. They're not honorable. These people are crap. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and talk to Chris in Georgia. Go ahead.
Alex, hey. Listen, I want to take issue with you on taxes, but since you started talking about Texas history, I want to take issue with you on that. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're going to break. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the breaks. Go ahead, make your point on taxes. I'll come back to you.
All right, well, no, I'm switching to Texas history because I think you got a couple things wrong. Now,
well, of course I get a lot of stuff wrong. I'm just going with a gestalt. You could nitpick anything I said. I'm going to come back to you. Okay, fine. We're going to disagree on Texas history when we return. I can't wait to hear this. In the past decade, we have witnessed unparalleled scientific discoveries in the area of health. But no one has put together a formula that focuses directly on brain health, nerve growth factors, and optimizing your cellular energy at the same time. DNA Force is one of the most expensive formulas to produce. Some of the ingredients in DNA Force are $12,000 a kilogram. We are using the coveted, patented, only American source of PQQ, CoQ10, and more. You want the best that's out there at the lowest price anywhere? Well, we're bringing you a total win-win. The ultimate value, cutting-edge, trailblazing game changer that also supports the InfoWar. We have produced a limited run of DNA Force, and it will take up to 12 weeks to produce more once we sell out. Secure your DNA Force today at InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. DNA Force from InfoWars Life. Okay, Chris in Georgia, go ahead. What do you disagree with?
Okay, Alex, you got to keep in mind, I greatly appreciate...
No, don't preface. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Okay. Now, I know you know Texas history better than I do.
Not that good.
You also know this as well. When Lee and Grant, U.S. Grant and Robert E. Lee were junior officers in the Mexican-American War, they both wrote home protesting the atrocities that the U.S. Army was committing against Mexicans.
Yes.
Up to 40% of U.S. troops defected. Have you ever heard during the Mexican-American War because they were so demoralized?
Well, that's because our troops were moral compared to a lot of their armies. It's absolutely true.
Have you ever heard of the St. Patrick's Battalion?
Yeah, that was Catholics made up of U.S. and Irish.
U.S. Irish soldiers that defected and joined the Mexican side. And I'm not saying that makes the cause of Texas today tainted or anything. I greatly appreciate the example of Texas.
But I mean, Mexico had Santa Anna and others committing horrible atrocities so bad in Guatemala they broke off. What does the Mexican-American War have to do with Texas? The Mexicans were coming all the way up in Oklahoma, killing anybody they found, the Mexican army. They were committing atrocities. Hell, there were atrocities in World War I with Blackjack Pershing when the Mexicans attacked Texas, so he went and committed atrocities back. These are all straw men, Chris. I never said that there weren't atrocities committed in the invasion of Mexico.
All I'm saying is that I haven't heard you illustrate that side of it yet.
That's what we need is states' rights. God bless you. I appreciate your point. That is a legitimate criticism, as I should get to more angles of history like that. Plus, it's super interesting. I just got to think of a parallel. Look, when they attack the American people, you're going to see the whole military defect. That's why they want to go to robots. The globalists can be pushed over. I'm telling you, they're a joke. Frank in North Carolina, then Josh and others. We're talking to callers that disagree today. It's very interesting. They're making some good points, but not really attacking me direct on. And Lord knows there's plenty to disagree with. I hear my show rebroadcast and think, I didn't say that correctly, or I'm wrong about that. It's hard to think on your feet and not have a teleprompter. But then again, it's even harder to be a slave. Let's talk to Frank in North Carolina. Thanks for holding her on the air.
Alex, man, I'll get into the ring with you any day, man. Just send out the call, and promise me you'll do that.
Well, you haven't made me mad. Well, you might beat me up. I'm sure I could beat Jon Stewart. So I don't want to get in the ring with you. Plus, I mean, when I get super famous, it would help me get the word out to get in the ring with Piers Morgan or somebody like Jon Stewart. I don't actually like fighting. So, what would I get from fighting you?
I'm not famous. I probably couldn't make you famous. I know a guy down here that's famous, though. He's one of your bigger supporters, Keith Larson at WBT Radio. He's been promoting your show for so many years. Every opportunity, he's always talking about Infowars.com.
Well, he's awesome. I don't know who he is, but maybe I've been on a show. I can't keep track. So go ahead. What do you disagree with?
I don't know if you've ever been on there. He's always talking about you. But, I've seen the 9/11 Truth Movement. I've been watching it for about 10 years, and the fire seems to have gone out of it some years ago to me. And I know this. I've become aware of this woman. She was a flight attendant for 30 years, and she just woke up a couple years ago. And she's written a book, and I'd really wish you'd get her on there. But I think this will reignite the 9/11 Truth Movement. She's become very prolific. She's on a lot of radio shows out there. People are waking up. Commercial airline pilots are ordering her book by the truckload.
Okay, what's her name?
They're like, how come we never saw this before? Her name is Rebecca Roth, and the title of her book is Methodical Illusion. But I called in about the double standard. I feel like you have Wayne Madsen. I give you a lot of credit for having him on. I've heard him for about 10 years on your show, and I think he's pretty good. He's pretty hardcore. He's a little bit too far to the left, perhaps, for me. But I noticed over the years, more and more, you've been becoming more and more comfortable and kind of buddying up with the kind of neocon, kind of fake conservative or Zionist wing of the political element. And
that's because I work for them. That's because I get direct orders from Tel Aviv every day, man.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but it's just something I've noticed. I mean, you woke me up. You were on George Norris' show one night. I think it was in December of 2000.
All right, well, listen. You made your statement. I appreciate it, but let me be serious with you, okay? I've been very critical of many of the policies in Israel. There's a leftist UN move to destroy Israel that's part of a larger global government plan. Just like I don't agree with the police, but I don't want to have a civil war with them, okay, on many fronts. The same thing with Israel. I'm not obsessed with Israel. I'm sick of hearing about it. I'm trying to promote a culture of liberty, free market, family, and due process and choice, like on vaccines. So I don't try to get into bashing Catholics, bashing Jews, bashing this, bashing that. And I've had the anti-Israel crowd make up outrageous things about me. So I've got to say, the folks that are bashing Israel, I bet a lot of them actually work for some of the Israeli lobby, because that's what KSNC said they do, to discredit legitimate criticism of Israel. You got these professors exposing 5 years ago that Israel lobby is manipulating our internal operations. I don't like that. I don't like any foreign government doing that. That said, though, it doesn't mean I then embrace the whole anti-Israel crowd, who a lot of them are just big losers who want to say they're big men and just say I work for Israel, but then they'll say Alex Jones woke most people up, but man, he works for the Israelis. I mean, it's just not real. And so there is no double standard. I am not a Israel file, but because either way, I don't worship Israel. I don't obsess on Israel. I'm going to let you finish up when we come back. Stay Joseph, and then we'll talk to Truth Raider, then Casey, Anthony, and Malachi. Go ahead, Josh. Thanks for holding so long. You're on the air.
Hey, Alex. There's several things I disagree with you on, but the one thing I was talking about when I said sensationalism is just this idea that there's going to be an economic collapse and there's going to be a civil war against the police. I just don't see that happening, man. Even if there was an economic collapse, I really don't see the American people having enough energy to do anything. The only people that hate police are inner city teenagers, and I mean, there isn't going to be any of that stuff happening, man. That's what I think.
Really? The White House is stirring it up, and if you get where the bread lines aren't full anymore, 50 million people on bread lines, they're just digital, you're going to have all hell break loose. The globalists have done this in other countries. It's in an IMF plan that got leaked in 2002. It's in my book, Descent into Tyranny. It's free online, but it was in the London Guardian. Their plan to destabilize countries with economic collapse. It's called Cloward and Piven. It's one program of many. And it's impossible to ever pay off all these debts. They've signed us on to all these derivatives. They're creating social unrest. I mean, when I say civil war, I mean in pockets around the country, a slow burn civil war.
I wanted to say was something that you had mentioned earlier in the show, probably about an hour ago, right before you went to one of the breaks. You said that these military guys they're not going to follow orders to take guns, and they're not going to fire on the American people. I disagree with that. There's a lot of these military guys that I've known in my life. I was 18 years old when 9/11 happened, so half the dudes I grew up with were military. I wasn't. But a lot of these guys, they don't understand that gun rack, apple pie, free range America. They don't understand it. They really do view it as being terrorist. And if they're ordered to fire on the American people, I guarantee you they will.
Sure. We're talking about a lot of Americans that it was more like 20%, the caller said 40%, that defected with atrocities the U.S. committed inside Mexico. Because the U.S. didn't just kick Mexico out of Oklahoma and Texas. They marched all the way down to Mexico City to the halls of Montezuma. They just slaughtered They smashed 4 or 5 armies and then just started raping and killing. And that's what a lot of armies do. And then a bunch of people defected and fought that. That's what the guy was talking about. And so I wasn't saying they'd all defect, but I know the military, and I know the ones that actually engage in the combat. Now, there is a lot of gang infiltration, white supremacists, black supremacists, you name it, in the military. Military's in trouble. But I don't think the military is going to go along with all this. That's why they're shifted to drones and robots and autonomous vehicles to take out the people. And that's when we're really in trouble 10 years down the road. We're going to go to break, come back with Truth Raider, Anthony and Casey. Stay with us. I'm Alex Jones, Infowars.com. Spread the word. Don't take the show for granted. They pray for us. They want to shut us down. All right, we're in that little dessert portion, the Spumoni transmission area. Some Spumoni ice cream would be good.
Hey there, I've got breaking news on the AARP subliminal. If you go to the AARP YouTube channel page, they rolled out a three-part natural disaster set of videos with this video with the subliminal in it. Now, if you go there, they're pushing a preparedness app from the government, and they do a PSA showing a guy putting his family into an underground bunker, taking a smartphone in there, which is a big no-no. Now, they also pushing a ready.gov website. I go there, and you hover over the Be Informed portion, click on Shelter, scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there's a box about mass care shelters. This is FEMA camps. It tells you how to behave in the FEMA camp and to...
Oh, my God, this is huge. We need this on the Nightly News tonight.
I did it.
So, again, where do you go to hover over? It talks about mass care.
Hover over Be Informed and click on Shelter and scroll down to the bottom. I covered this on Breaking the Conditioning is my YouTube channel.
Good.
I covered the whole thing on there in depth.
All right, guys, let's get his video. Look at it if it's good, which I'm sure it is. Link to it on Infowars.com. Because I don't want to just put out our own report on this. I want to promote grassroots people stuff because who knows what will happen to us. I mean, I just wanted to beat the enemy. All right, Casey, anything else? Thanks for holding to tell us that. Anything else you want to tell us about this? Folks thought we made that up when we showed the subliminal, but I guess they now admit it all, huh?
It's true. They are admitting it all. I actually just read the right-wing extremist paper. I read the white papers about how to psyops. I mean, I've just been reading all these white papers. I recommend everybody do that. You can find them all on Google. They're all on.
No, how they're going to put us in camps, how they're going to take our kids from us, yeah.
And other than that, just get in the comments and keep jamming the transmission.
Well, something else they're going to do in FEMA camps, this is admitted, they do it to our troops. They'll just keep inoculating you and then say, oh, the records are lost. Give you 300 shots till you die. And then just stand around going, oh, look, he died. We're liberal. Ah, liberal, liberal. I mean, it's all because these people are sick. We've been overrun by absolute psycho criminals. And the Republican Party's working with them. We are just, it is just over the top. Anthony in Florida, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I'd just like to say that as far as this racial stuff is concerned, it's definitely manufactured because of the fact that if you think about it, I mean, they say, oh, they suffered 400 years. Well, you know what? The Irish suffered 700 years of brutal occupation at the hands of the British, and yet they were able to rise above that, and especially, too, not just that, during in the early 19th century.
Oh, that's true, but they didn't have different colored skin completely, so assimilation was easier. There are real problems, but it's never going to get fixed with the social engineers throwing gasoline on it. I mean, that's the problem, is they're there doing it.
And then, like you said, too, what do you call it? They, I'm trying to remember. In the early 19th century, when the country was largely white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, they were still picked on, and yet they didn't. And yet they were able to go into the inner city. They became the first major urban ethnic group to experience the urban experience, just like African Americans are now. And it's like, you know, they didn't say, oh, I feel sorry. Don't feel sorry for me because I suffered. Well, they rose above all of that. Exactly. They pulled themselves up and they fought back.
Well, the Irish certainly did, but they were leaving something really bad. I mean, you look at the stuff the Irish went through in Ireland with the British occupation, it was bad. In fact, concentration camps were invented by the British for the Scots and the Irish, then adopted here against Native Americans. And it doesn't mean these countries haven't done evil, bad things. Let's not re-experience it now. All right, I'm sorry to Malik. Call me back tomorrow. I'll go to you, Cato and Joshua. We got to end the transmission. Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock. Hotel, the Marriott, and me throwing coffee on the ground that had been left in the car and peeing up against a tree and stuff like that. Because I don't want to go back in. You know, you forget you got to pee and you got to get in the car. And I mean, it was ridiculous. And I said, please let me show the public. They go, oh, no, we'd be arrested. In fact, don't talk about this for years. And then they left. And then my friends wouldn't even tell me who they were. They just go, oh, their family. But, I mean, they used us in the simulation like we were added role players and we didn't even know it. So, believe me, I know all about these exercises. I've covered personally more than 30 of them. Go ahead. Anything else, Sean?
Well, I think maybe you use Jade Helm exercise, Alex. Maybe everybody in Texas ought to open carry. Everybody just don't get threatening. Everybody carry their stuff with you, you know. That sort of send them a message right there.
It's going to be like the SAGE event they've been doing for 50 years, which... All right, without further ado, drum roll, please. We are going to your phone calls. John from Texas disagrees on Jade Helm. Josh in Dakota disagrees with Alex on sensationalism. Well, I mean, reality is sensational. Obama opening the borders without law is sensational. Mike in Canada says, I'm losing my edge. Frank in North Carolina, I have double standards. Chris disagrees on taxes. You don't have to preface it that you like me or this or that. Just tell me where you disagree, and I'll give each one of you about a minute and a half, and then I will rebut and go to the next person. So, John in Texas, the former state of Texas, now FEMA Region 6, occupied, as Jon Stewart said, by the globalist. He celebrated it. Welcome, John. You're on the air. I totally agree with you that it has dual purposes, but the overall reason is to condition the public by doing these drills out in the open.
No matter how you look at this exercise, Alex, whether it's to do with us or a foreign invasion or an attack, it's evil. Evil either way you look at it, it's evil.
Well, sure, but they're having riot control drills from Tennessee to California that they won't let us into, but we shoot through the fence. And then it's, I'm with the Tea Party. I'm a sovereign. You can't have my guns. I mean, I went to a Marine Corps drill with 3,000 Marines and over 2,000 foreign troops, and they kept saying, it's for Macedonia. It's for Macedonia. Well, yeah, they had a joint mission, but they had role players screaming, I'm an American, don't take my guns. No, not the camp. And they had overhead satellite tracking, and they were training to fight militias, and they would catch, they let me in, but then their PR guy kept throwing me out. But we said...
Hi, Alex.
Go ahead.
You notice Jade Helm, I think more has to do with attacking another country than what it does with us. If there's a heavy Caucasian element to this training exercise, they may be wanting to do something in Eastern Europe, maybe even attack Russia, because Russia stands in the way in the Middle East. They can't finish Assad off. They can't attack Iran. They got to deal with Russia first.
I actually totally agree with you. This is having joint applications for Eastern European deployments. NATO admits they're preparing for that and wargaming. They're wargaming off Alaska. They're wargaming off Nova Scotia. I've said from the start that I'm not mad at you, John, but that's a straw man because it has dual training. But they are also doing infiltration of local government training. You notice they said working with people on their farms. That'll be operatives they've got on the border with Russia. So, and then people posing as citizens for a tour. You know, they were cordoned off streets. It was in the city of San Francisco and what's the town there? Oakland. I mean, it's a 2-hour film. People can watch it. So it was dual use. But then I had Marines, two non-commissioned officers, who were friends with some folks that I knew, show up a year later at Access Television in 1999. This was 2000 then. They're like, Alex, we like your show. You have no idea what was really going on. And they were simulating terrorists attacking by water, and the terrorists were patriots. And they were simulating, and then they had drones up, and it's video. They're going, Death Star, Death Star. We're in control. We've got them moving. And they go, we're just going to show you a minute of this. And then they showed us coming out of the hotel.